College materials. $200, $125, $100. No, we're not talking about a pair of Jordans. We're not talking about a pair of nice shoes. We're talking about the cost for college materials. Whether it's your books, whether it's an access code, or any other materials that you may need for your class, these are the prices that we're talking. They are a bit high. So in this lesson, what we're going to talk about are ways where we can reduce the cost of the college materials. So a little background knowledge to give you an idea about the industry here. Rise in textbook cost over the past 30 years, 800%. Students who have opted not to buy a required textbook due to cost, 65%. What the average college student spends per year on books and supplies, $1,200. Per semester would be $600, obviously. And total earnings on higher education course materials, $4.3 billion. $4.3 billion. They're making a lot of money, and sadly, they're making this money off of you guys. So what can we do to try to reduce the cost? When it comes to buying your materials for your classes, you have a couple of options here. Option one would be to buy it from the bookstore. Every campus has a bookstore where the majority of the books that you need for your courses are available. So you can go to the bookstore. The only issue is the price. A lot of times you'll be paying an extra premium for convenience. But there are other options out there. For example, Amazon.com or eBay.com. These are two websites I like to recommend for students to check out to see if the books are there. Amazon has a special shipping program called Prime, and if you're a college student, you get it for free for a certain amount of months. So Amazon is a good place to check. To put things in perspective, if you were to buy a book in the bookstore, let's say it would cost you $100. However, if you check Amazon or eBay, you may get the book for $70 or $60. It kind of depends on the availability and the demand, just like anything else in life. So you can save a few dollars by going with the website. The only issue is you would have to wait for shipping. And that brings us to number two with Chegg. Chegg is the same thing. It's an online website where instead of buying the book, you would rent the book. So that's the main difference between Amazon and eBay. With Chegg, you rent the book for the duration of the semester. When the semester is over, you send the book back to Chegg. The rental price is a lot cheaper. We're looking, if the book costs $100 in the bookstore, you can rent it maybe for $40, $50, depending again on the class and the book. So you can save a lot of money by renting the book. The only issue is you have to really take good care of the book. So that means you really can't highlight too much, and the book has to be in a decent condition when you send it back. If the book is not in a decent condition, they would charge you full price for the book. So Chegg is another option, and I strongly recommend it. A lot of upperclassmen choose to rent their books, especially because they know that they can save a lot of money. Something to keep in mind there. If you choose to opt to buy your books from the on-campus bookstore, you have the option of buying them new or used. If you buy them new, you're paying full price. So let's say, for example, the book full price is $100. If you buy it used, you may get it for around $80. So you can save about 20% there. Now, what is a used book? A used book is simply a book that a previous student had, and they sold it back to the bookstore. And we're going to talk about that process a little bit later. But when they sell their book back to the bookstore, what ends up happening is the bookstore turns around and sells it again to a future student. That's a viable option if you feel the need to buy the book from the bookstore. Another option is you can share your text with a classmate. A lot of students choose to sign up for the same classes. For example, they may sign up for ENC 1101 together. So instead of buying two books, they share a book. And that works also. And a lot of times people do that if they're roommates, so the book is in one place at all times. In some cases, the books may be available in your on-campus library. Sometimes the university buys a few of the books, so if the students can't afford to buy a book, they still have the books available. Now, you can't check the book out, meaning you can't have the book leave the library, but it will be available if you need it to prepare for a test or even do homework. Another option I'm noticing is students are posting books on Instagram once the semester is over. And students that are taking the class in the following semester, they will buy the book directly from their friends. And that's a good option because you cut out the middleman, which is the bookstore. So you can save money that way. And finally, I would recommend talking to your professor. A lot of times your professors are the ones that write the textbooks. So they have a few of them lying around in their office. That's why it's very important to get to know your professor, because it may save you a couple dollars, but the real reason why you should get to know the professor is because he could be an asset and expand your network. So something to keep in mind as ways to reduce the cost when it comes to buying your materials. Okay, now another component of the materials are something that we call an access code. You're going to need the certain access codes for the online component of your classes. For example, if you're taking a biology class, some of your homework, tests, and quizzes will be due web-based. So you have to log on to the website, complete the assignment, and that's how you would turn it in for a grade. If you don't have an access code, then you cannot complete that portion of the class. Generally, the access codes may run between $80 to $100, depending on the publisher and other factors. You will need to have the access code, especially if you're doing a science or math, because the majority of the problems are web-based. So, pretty much almost all on-campus bookstores have something called the book buyback program. The premise behind it is simple. The bookstore wants to collect as many books as possible for the next upcoming semester. So, in theory, how it works is they buy you the book in the beginning of the semester, and at the end of the semester, you sell it back to them. The only difference is the price. You may have bought the book for $139, but when it comes time to sell it back, the bookstore may be willing to give you only $30. So it may not seem fair, but that's the price and that's their business model. Now, like we said prior, you do have options here. You can hold on to the book until the next semester and then sell it to a friend who needs the book, and instead of only getting 30, you may be able to get maybe 60 or 70, because the friend, instead of paying $139 for the book, they'll be more than happy to pay only $80. So that is an option. However, many students still choose to sell their book back to the bookstore because at the end of the semester, when they ran out of money, they would like a little pocket change to go home. So they sell their books back to the bookstore. So the college materials are a necessary evil, guys. The prices are ridiculous, but again, you need it. So I would strongly recommend to buy them offline or even rent your books. But if that's not the case, if you need it immediately or you feel a little bit more comfortable buying it at the bookstore, feel free to buy it at the bookstore, guys.